Robert Taylor Homes, one of the largest projects in the world. Built in 1960, this 2-mile stretch of 16-foot high-rise projects started out to help people, but took a turn for the worse.
Black people fighting their own kind. Where we live, south side of Chicago, was only black people. And it was constantly fighting and women getting raped and, getting robbed and breaking into people's houses. And it's like all black people doing this to other black people.
Infested with drugs, gangs, poverty, and lack of education, these projects became a trap to keep people enslaved to the system.
A lot of people there never experienced owning things. Like there was no pride of ownership. And so they didn't care. They didn't care if the place was filthy. It was hard to get rid of the roaches. Black families who were poor and on welfare didn't care about their surroundings. We had a porch we could go on and look out, And as the years went by, they had to fence that whole thing in because people were throwing things off. And you could get hit with something from the 16th floor, you're dead. They wouldn't keep their houses clean. They didn't, keep their kids clean and all that kind of stuff. And the average family had 7 to 12 children.
Despite their living conditions, people had a sense of family. The Norwoods and Browns were two of many large families that called the projects home.
People have the the assumption that it was a terrible place to be, but actually, I enjoyed it.
My mother taught us that it wasn't where you lived, it's how you lived. And we lived that way. It was a community type thing.
What we had was okay. I mean, sometimes living in poverty, people perceive that you're miserable, but it isn't always that way. I was swinging on a swing set in the playground, which was centered in between 3 buildings, and he was coming across the playground. I guess he was on his way from the field where the boys all play baseball.
Saw this girl with this pretty little girl with the thick hair, swinging on the swing, just asked, "What's your name?" Of course, my wife tells a little bit different.
And he just walked up to me and said, "Hey girl, what's your name?" So, and I was just amazed that such a deep voice came out of such a little person,
She says, I said, "Hey girl, what's your name?" But I think I just said, "Hey, what's your name?" Trying to be cool about it. And she told me her name. I asked her where she lived. She said, "I live in 4848 on the 6th floor." And I said, "No, you don't. We live on the 6th floor." I would see her every day. Before I went home, I made sure I go up the elevator, because we go up the elevator, as soon as you step off the elevator, her front window is right there at the elevator. So I knock on the door and make sure I see her every day before I went home.
After many years, Larry and Mariah went on to marry each other at a young age, still living in Robert Taylor Homes.
We got married when I was 17, Larry was 19, but we had been girlfriend and boyfriend for a number of years, off and on. Larry had a lot of other girlfriends because he was very popular.
A lot of girls running around the place, you know what I mean? But she was the last one I saw every day, so evidently it was love. We just didn't know what to call it.
I remember Larry's father telling me, that we got married very young, and maybe he wasn't ready to settle down yet. And so I had to give him some time.
When you first get married like that at that age, you don't feel a responsibility. It's still like a girlfriend.
And so for the sake of, I wouldn't say for the sake of the marriage, but for the sake of my sanity, I left and went to California.
Fueled by the early woes of marriage, Love led Larry and Mariah to the West Coast to live the California dream.
Leaving Chicago, coming to San Francisco in the early 70s, 69, 70 was just an eye-opening for me. It was just a whole different world.
San Francisco was a beautiful city. That's where we moved to when we first came to California. And, you know, relatives would come to visit. We were all around the same age, you know, and quite a number of them decided to move out and try it themselves, you know. So a lot of them migrated to California and western states from visiting with their brother, and then deciding, in my family too, and decided to, you know, make the move.
So you're going to be married in December, 50 years, first time. So you have to try on some dresses so you can see.
Come on, just come on to the back.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. It's already open for you, Mom. Thanks for letting little girls' dreams come true, to see you as a bride. Love all of us, your daughters, all of us. Okay.
You could cry. You could cry.
Let it go. That's good.
This is your bridal shower that you never had after 50 years.
Well, this is exciting, yes. I haven't tried on a wedding dress before. I try not to, I just keep it.
That is great.
Like a halter tie. Do you have a halter? No, halter goes around her neck. It says say yes to your dress? Yeah.
I said yes to my dress.
Okay. Well, I think it's more of a celebration, because most people, when they get married when they're very young, I think you're in the thralls of being in love and so forth, and it's more of a symbol of feelings. But for me, it's a symbol of history. You know, we have been together 50 years, and we've gone through good times and bad times and gangs and losses, and so to make it through, which a lot of my friends and relatives didn't make it through, you know. And we had one friend, I always laugh because he says, I've been married for as long as you have. It just took me 3 wives to get to get there. So for us to make it, you know, through all the things that we've been through, and still love each other and still care about each other, I think it's exciting to celebrate that. I think you should celebrate that. 50 years doesn't happen very often, and it's something to celebrate. And so that's the most exciting part. It isn't about, oh, the wedding and all the hoop-de-doo and stuff. It's about celebrating something that time and love and stress and frustrations and joy over a long period of time, and then you've endured it, and you need to celebrate it.
I'm truly, truly happy with the space I'm in with my wife right now. Of course, we had some ups and we had some downs. Probably had more downs than ups, but we made it through 50 plus, and we're gonna make it another 50.
Well, one of the things that I knew he was the one for me when I was like 13 years old. He was always in charge. And since I really didn't have a father around anymore, I admired the fact that he was all his younger siblings respected him, and he was respectful to his mom.
It may be a flaw to some people, but she's always wanting the best for everyone. Everybody she talks to, we raised a lot of foster kids, and she was always the lead in that. And that's what I love about her. She would always give us a direction, and I would take that direction because it was better than the one I thought.
And so, of course, Larry had a smile. His smile was, he had a very winning smile. I mean, he was a very handsome kid. You know, he had beautiful brown eyes and a smile that just made you weak at the knees. So I just, well, he's, you know, no matter what rough voice came out that little box of his, like, you know, he was smiling. It would just like make my day. So, you know, and I prayed for him. I said, God, I want him to be my husband one day. And God answers prayer.
She stood out among, she stood above even the one that was beautiful. It was just something about her.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It always protects. It always trusts. Always hopes and always preserves.
We would like to introduce to you the renewed,
revived Larry and Mariah Norwood.